What's your lemonade stand story?
And he was like, YouTube's going to be the next big thing, Devin. Like, you need to get on that. You need to get on it early. And I'm like,
And all of us, we all go through our own trials, our own level of stuff.
Sure hope this works out. Otherwise, this will be a huge waste of time.
I mean, what else is it all about other than just taking risks and continuing to try and grow and hopefully get better and better at making things?
Most of the billion-dollar brands you've seen were started by people that were just solving a problem for themselves.
We're telling lemonade stand stories from some of the world's top creators, makers, and go-getters.
We're rolling right now.
Hey,
We're having fun. We're rolling.
Yeah.
Hey guys, this podcast today is sponsored by Yalla, a task management and team collaboration software that we use at Lemonade Stand. We use Yalla to keep all of our team members organized, wherever they are. In fact, we used it to plan and organize this podcast. Visit yalla.team, that's YALLA.team, and try it for free. We also have a special offer for all listeners of this podcast. Use promo code LEMONADE and get a lifetime 25% off if you upgrade. Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Sharon Prabhakar with the Lemonade Stand Stories podcast, and I'm here with two newly found legends. They have made a great name for themselves as Utah's treasure hunters. The creators of the treasure hunt, right? We've got Dave Cline here, and we have John Maxim here, and what you guys have done has inspired a community and has massively grown not just your own fan base, but has also helped tons and tons of people come together at a time when people were not wanting to come together. They were feeling a little sketchy about coming together. And I think it's just freaking awesome, especially because Utah, I think, is so beautiful. And so getting people out there, it's just so great. So guys, thank you so much for doing what you're doing, and welcome to be on the podcast. Really happy to have you guys
happy
here.
to be here.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Of course. So I'd love to know, even before the treasure hunt stuff, how did you two even get together and do all that fun stuff?
So John here, he's one of the real estate moguls of Utah. He's one of the biggest house flippers, and me just getting started in real estate. I just kind of wanted to be, more involved with him. He's kind of a tough guy to go to lunch with, and so but to be honest, no, I had this idea, and I was going through my phone thinking about who's the craziest person that I know that would actually do this, and he's literally the only person I could think of that would be willing to bury money in the mountains. So
that's amazing.
We kind of knew each other through real estate, but then this thing has really kind of solidified a friendship that has, made us grow a lot closer.
That's amazing. And did you guys decide you were gonna do this last year when the pandemic hit, or was it just kind of an inspiring thought that kept happening over and over? Or
yeah, we were talking about. I mean, David called me right after the pandemic, and he literally said, everyone's been locked up. I think I've been wanting to do this. I think it'd be a great time to kind of do it now to give people a reason to get out.
Yeah, that's so awesome. And have you but your background, were you a big National Treasure fan, or did you have an idea of I need to create clues like this or like that?
I think it's in everyone's DNA that they have an Indiana Jones in there somewhere.
Of course.
And so I've loved treasure hunts. I've loved all those movies growing up.
Yeah.
And I kind of just had this idea. It's how could we get everyone safely outside, even in a pandemic, and just kind of had this idea of a treasure hunt, and John was completely on board, and so we kind of just got it rolling.
Was this your first one that you guys just did, the last couple weeks ago or whatever it was?
No, so the last one was actually 2020, so it was last
2020.
year.
You guys did one in 2020.
Uh-huh.
But how come, was it just this one that took off in a massive way, or?
Well, so it was funny because on the way down the mountain after we hid the chest, we were actually joking with each other, and we didn't know. I'm like, John, no one might care about this. We might have to come back in a few months and just dig it up ourselves because no one's going to care at all. And the exact opposite happened. It was so insane that we completely underestimated just both the response and the talent of the community. And so we thought that the hunt was going to go for the entire summer, and it lasted 4 days.
4 days, really?
Yeah.
People found it in 4 days?
It was found in 4 days.
No way.
So I think the response probably would have been similar. It just was over so quickly that it didn't have anywhere to go. It didn't build up.
Well, no, that's amazing because I think you hit a couple things on the head. People felt so isolated. They needed a way to get out of their own heads, out of the depression that followed. Because what's interesting about the pandemic was not just the sickness, but like the mental sickness as well, and the reaction to it.
Definitely.
And I think like it really did a lot of damage in my own industry. I felt like there's a lot of people suffering, but I think togetherness and like a coming together was like exactly what was needed, and it happened at the exact right time. Now, you guys were both telling me a little bit beforehand that as a result of this treasure hunt, you guys have found new fame. How's that been for you?
It's it's been a little weird. I mean, during the treasure hunt, my first like real experience of it, as a car full of teenage girls pulled up next to me and started yelling, "It's the treasure guy!"
No,
as I was getting onto the freeway, and I told David, I'm like, people are recognizing me, and I look like a lot of people. I mean, I'm not very unique looking, so it was really kind of weird. And then even since then, I'll go like to play soccer or whatever I'm doing, and people are like, "Oh man, you're that guy," and it's weird. It's really weird.
It's strange, right?
Yeah, I'm used to just no one ever noticing. And
it's funny because when we started, we never really, our goal wasn't to be famous at all.
Of course.
We just wanted to do something fun for the community to get them outside. And like, I mean, if I guess local fame or influence or whatever comes our way, maybe we can just have a bigger platform to do more cool things and positive things in the future. Yeah. But so it's been kind of strange. I'm almost a little nervous to, it's so new to me that I feel like I'm too old to be Insta famous or whatever they call it these days. And so just kind of taking it a day at a time. So
no, I think that's the best approach. It's interesting because so I was mentioning to you guys before, like I work in film as an actor, and I didn't grow up though as an actor. I grew up as just like a normal kid, and then I got into it in my adult years. But I've got a lot of friends that were child actors, and like the way fame hit them was very different than like maybe someone like us who have had life experience and have been like a little bit more grounded, like have like an idea of normalcy. But it is very interesting when it hits, because then you're like, oh, how do I navigate, and how do I like go to places without being recognized? Because anonymity sometimes is awesome.
Definitely.
And when you don't have that, it's interesting. But did you guys like make videos? Did you post it online, or how did that all go down, or how was like the process of like unveiling the treasure hunt?
So yeah, I mean, we actually put a lot more thought into this than people thought.
Okay.
And having done it once, even back then, not just were we influenced by Indiana Jones and the Goonies and that, but in Mission Impossible and all these kinds of things. So we were very calculated in how we did things. So we actually shot the video. We shot promo videos at one location. David borrowed his dad's car. We meet in a random parking lot. We get in his dad's car because we're like, maybe people can track us. Maybe people are listening, following our phones. We turn off our phones. We go take a video in a different location. Then we go and hide the treasure. We wore disguises to hike up to hide it, just in case.
Of course,
someone's videoing. Like we went to great lengths, and people.
Sure.
And it's crazy once we released the treasure hunt, how people just assumed we would never have gone to any of those lengths. So there was tons of people that like, oh, I know exactly where that trail is, where they're shooting the video. That's where the treasure. I mean, we had a guy that flew in from Atlanta.
You've got to be kidding me.
And that was his big solve, was I know where that trail is. And then he even sent me a picture of the tree from our promo video and said, see, we're in the right place. Where's the treasure? I'm like, that's not where we hid it. So yeah, we went through a lot of effort to make sure that it was not found in 4 days.
Yes. So how long did this one take to get found?
This was 17 days.
17 days. Okay, that's a nice little chunk of time, couple of weeks.
I mean, we thought this one would go all summer because we took all these precautions, but yet again, the response surprised us, and the talent surprised us, and so, but it's an improvement from 4 days. So first year 4 days, second year 17 days, maybe next year we can hit 1 month. We'll see.
But going back to the whole fame thing, I mean, it blew up so much.
Yeah.
I think both of us at 17 days were like, I don't even know if I care if it gets found now, because there was so much interest and so many people. And, you start to feel bad for people because, like, they're going to the same trail over and over and over, and it's the wrong trail, and they're sending you all these messages like, I know it's this place, and they've been going there for 2 weeks every single day, and you're like, man, maybe this needs to be over. So I don't know, maybe 17 days was perfect. We don't know, but
honestly it was kind of a relief when it ended, just because I felt like we were in the kind of it was like one of those viral moments, you know?
Sure.
And so now I kind of have a lot more empathy and almost sympathy for people who go viral, you know, just because I know as a very small scale, what that's like. And so, but, you know, like, I mean, it went national news, Fox News, CNN, they were all reaching out to us, you know, and so... Yeah. Anyways, but I'm just so thankful that it just stayed positive. That was kind of our number one.
I was gonna ask you guys, like, was it for the most part overwhelmingly positive?
Oh my gosh, 99% positive.
Awesome.
Yes.
That's awesome, because I imagine some people may have gotten like really upset. You know, they're like, well, we were there and we didn't see anything, or you know.
Well, some of the issues we ran into actually is search and rescue had to get one guy. You know.
No way.
He was a treasure hunter. Yeah. I mean, I guess my worst fear was someone could get really hurt up there looking for treasure. And, you know, a lot of these media outlets reach out to us. And, you know, of course, like in the beginning, we're just like, yeah, well, you know, this helps us kind of get the word out. Thank you so much. But, I mean, we kind of got a taste, too, of like how the media, you know, I mean, I don't know, like you got to be really careful, though, because they just want a story, you know, and whether the story is like, hey, you know, this super positive treasure hunt's going on, get outside with your friends, try to solve this, or it's like, you know, our resources being wasted because treasure hunters that are maybe not experienced enough to be hiking are getting dehydrated and all this stuff. And so, you know, it was kind of a fine line that we were kind of balancing. But, I mean, that was a very, very, very small part of an overwhelmingly positive experience.
Overwhelmingly positive experience. How many people would you say, like, actually went on the hunt overall?
Oh, thousands, I would say.
Thousands,
I mean,
really?
Yeah.
We don't. The only thing we have to go off is our Instagram views, and we were getting 10 to 12,000 views on every single story.
Wow.
And you know, we went on a hike afterwards to show people where the treasure was, and one lady was like, and that, you know, I got the views, and then I sent that to 5 other people and was telling them about it and sharing everything with them. So, I mean, it could have been 10,000 people. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was a lot.
And it was just, I mean, as part of like just on the front lines of getting all those DMs and talking to thousands of people in the community, it was just so fantastic because everyone had a story, and some of them were incredible. One guy lost 16 pounds in 3 weeks just because he was
no way.
Yeah, and that was like a theme, you know. I mean, I would say we probably had at least. I mean, a lot of people that lost at least 10 pounds, but this guy kind of won. I mean, it wasn't like an official contest, but an unofficial contest of losing 16 pounds.
Just from hiking.
Yeah, just from hiking. I mean, and then
cool.
we kind of rekindled, you know, the families reached out to us and they're like, hey, you know, like we couldn't drag our kids away from the Xbox before, and now they're dragging us out the door.
That's
you know?
amazing.
Or you're right. Like there's a lot of mental health issues right now, a lot of kind of depression. A lot of people just kind of locked in their homes, even now, like maybe not because of, you know, the thing going on, but for other reasons. And this kind of gave them a fun kind of like just a thing to focus and channel their energy onto.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, I got a lot of messages just being like, man, I don't know if, you know, this saved me, but this, you know, this has been life-changing for me, at least, at this point in my life. It just came at the perfect time is what they say.
You know, that is so awesome, because even more than finding the treasure, I mean, this is going to sound so cliche, but the treasure hunt was the treasure. You know what I mean? In a sense.
Totally, yes.
Because now it's like people had a chance to go out. They had a chance to, like, experience life with each other a little bit more than, like, just sitting at home. Had a chance to lose some weight. And that right there is positive, and the fact that they have like something really positive to like look forward to, like perhaps finding some treasure, could be amazing. And of course, I'm sure whoever, I forgot the name of the guy that won. I was like researching, but whoever won, I'm sure like that must have been like a really cool moment for him to find that or whatnot, right?
Yeah, it was really great. He did a live video on Instagram, and we worry because. One of the things that actually inspired this treasure hunt was the Forest Fen treasure hunt, the very famous. He hid like $3 million somewhere in 4 states.
Okay.
And then one of the things that we don't like about that hunt is, like, for the longest time, nobody knew who found it. Still to this day, nobody knows where it was.
Okay.
So then you get skeptics like me wondering, why did they even hide the treasure? Is this a big scam? And so a big thing for us when David called me is like, we got to have a payoff. We need to be
like closure.
We need to show people somebody found it, and this is where it was, and this is how the clues work. Like we want that to be there for people, and I think that helped a lot. But so we worried that, you know, someone would find it and just not tell everybody. But he did a live video when he found it, and you know, he's a veteran police officer.
Wow.
He's a big tough guy, and it was great because he's getting choked up like. I just found this treasure. Like, it was so great to watch. It was such a great moment for us, I think. Like, we saw him we had a trail cam. We saw him on the trail cam, and I told David, I'm like, we got to go down there right now and catch him at the bottom, because this guy did a live video, and he's like the perfect.
He's the perfect guy.
Perfect guy to find.
It was over 4th of July weekend. I mean, it was like the perfect. It was the perfect ending to that, and it was really cool because we went to the bottom of the trailhead, and he'd called his wife. Obviously, really excited, and so she came with their kids, and she was waiting for them. So we got to know them pretty well while he was being mobbed, because a lot of people had kind of narrowed it down to that trail. So there was probably 50 other treasure hunters up there when he found it, and on the trail down, he was just getting stopped, every 100 feet by someone wanting to take pictures and with the chest and all that stuff.
Oh, wow.
But then, when he finally comes into view and his daughters run to him, I mean, it was just a special moment. And so
that's incredible, man. Like, I mean, what a cool memory you've created, like, for like all these people, right? Not just for him and his family, but like all the people that were like, can you please take a picture with you? Can we have this moment? Like, that's just so great. So did you guys funded this yourselves? Is that right?
Yeah, so far everything's been self-funded.
Self-funded?
Yeah.
So, and are you hoping to do more, right? Is that the plan?
Yeah.
Yes.
Eventually, we'll run out of money. I think.
Yeah, I kind of
probably
feel like
sooner rather than later.
I don't know if my wife will let me continually bury money in the ground.
Yes.
And so we're looking at other. I mean, the community is so generous. A lot of people have offered to contribute. But one of the things that we want to just make sure is that this is always free for everybody. I know there's a lot of other treasure hunts where you kind of have to pay for clues and stuff, and we don't want to do any of that. And so I don't know. Those are still kind of some issues that we're working through, but definitely, it's kind of.
Well, I kind of feel like, I'm sure, like, with the community being so generous and supportive, I think even businesses that have like write-offs and stuff, and they're like, hey, we need to donate some money quick, they could donate to a treasure hunt. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and we're exploring a bunch of different things. We've even, as David said, inspired several treasure hunts, and some of them have already gone the route of, hey, donate to this and we'll bury all the funds. We haven't quite gone there yet, because we think there's ways we can do it that none of the hunters will have to do that. I think businesses and there's all kinds of ways that we can get it funded so that everyone can just enjoy it and not have to worry about, oh man, do I have to feel guilty because I didn't donate $20 to this treasure hunt when I go look for it? We don't want any of that to be the case.
And there's also kind of a fine balance too, where once you kind of bring sponsors in, it's not as clean. And John had the perfect I actually looked this up, but I guess on the movie The Christmas Story, where like he's decoding some kind of clue and he's so excited, and then it says like once he decodes it, he reads it and it's like, don't forget your Ovaltine or something.
Okay.
Anyways,
he's so disappointed because it's just an advertisement for Ovaltine.
Like
we want to make sure that the treasure hunts never go that route.
Exactly.
Even
So
if we need to get
anyways, we still haven't figured this out, but we're definitely open to sponsorships as long as we can kind of keep the integrity and kind of spirit of everything.
Spirit of everything.
Right.
And is the hope to like expand out of Utah or like go to other places and like do more?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's the hope, right? Like, and maybe even if you get more money, you might be able to like do more with it, because then it's like people can like I don't know. I can imagine this being like a nationwide thing at some point. A worldwide thing that could be really crazy, but hey, you know what? There's people out there that would go for it. Like Definitely. If you had like enough of a payoff at the end, it would be a massive thing. Of course, it's like a ton of work on your guys' end to organize something like that,
But I mean, to me, it's not even work. Like, it's just so fun.
That's so amazing.
And so it's like, I mean, we're both big real estate guys, but if we could somehow turn this into a full-time, thing, that would be a complete dream for me. So.
Is that? And do you feel the same way? Would you want to do that too? Would you want to like quit everything and be like, hey, I'll be the guy that creates the treasure hunts?
Oh yeah, I mean, versus tracking contractors down and flipping a house, which is a lot of freaking work. Building a treasure hunt and watching the smile on a kid's face as they hunt for treasure. That's pretty rewarding.
Yeah.
So I think it's funny, the whole making lemonade out of lemons thing. I mean. The news and David's like probably the most genuine guy I know. The whole like we did this to get people out and make a positive impact. Like, I mean, honestly, the motivation was this is just an awesome thing to do. And I've grown up my whole life wanting to do treasure hunts.
So fun.
No one's going to do it unless I do it. So we decided to do it. And then out of that, like we just wanted to do something awesome and see how it went, came this massive positive response that now we've kind of got to figure out how to like truly make that into lemonade, because we should, because it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, we definitely tapped some kind of nerve.
I have all these messages saved, and I show my wife, and she's like starts crying. Some of them are so like positive, and people really got so overwhelmingly moved by this thing. And for us, I mean, really, if you really break down the motivation, we just thought it was so cool.
Yeah, it's just awesome. Something awesome to do.
Yeah.
But now that we've had such a huge positive response, it's like, how can we keep this going? Yeah, because I mean, even families that are like, we just weren't connecting with our kids, and they're kind of like growing distant, or even like relationships, like boyfriend, girlfriend, or wife and husband, and it's like, man, we really bonded over trying to solve this thing. We had all these adventures, and they ran to a rattlesnake or whatever. Like, everyone has an adventure, and it's just so cool that they have that now.
They have that moment.
Helps getting out together with people.
Well,
and
I was just gonna say, like, what you guys are doing is really creating more light and positivity in the world. And that, at the end of the day, like, I think like that's what is so compelling and so amazing and so awesome. Because there's so much heaviness,
Yes.
there's a lot of darkness. And so it's interesting. I when I was in LA, I had a pretty, my career was actually taking off. Like, I was having like some really cool opportunities on cool TV shows and stuff. And yet, like, my spirit was like feeling like I was dying inside. I'm like, what in the world? Like, I'm getting auditions, I'm booking parts. Why do I feel like I'm dying inside? And I had to like take an honest, hard look at myself. And I said, this work that I'm doing right now, how is it inspiring people? Or is it just like gratifying myself? Is it just like, oh, like, look at this cool show? Or is it actually empowering people? And the more and more I thought about it, the more I kept thinking, I really, really, really want to do stuff that's going to bless other people, or like show light to other people, and like just like help people feel like good about themselves and joyous about themselves. And that's what you guys are doing in a massive way. And like, you've already proven that the model works, because now people are stoked about it. Now, we were talking a little bit about lemons to lemonade. Like, in your own personal lives, have there ever been a moment where you're like, oh boy, that was a lemon? That was a tough blow to have been given, and how do I flip this? No pun intended, but how do I flip this and make this lemonade?
I got a great story, but if you've got one, I don't want to one-up you. I mean, it's probably like almost somebody scripted it for this moment. So,
I'll let you say. Okay, to be honest, like, I've had an incredibly blessed life.
Me too.
And I there's a balance, I think, between making decisions that enable you to have a blessed life and being lucky in a sense, And I think I've had both. I feel like, just certain experiences and, living abroad has kind of taught me, like, okay, this is what you should and shouldn't do. So that said, I mean, I don't want to do like anything crazy, but I remember. So, I love talking. I love talking about the three things that are kind of faux pas in our culture. It's like money, religion, and politics, which we're not going to get into right here. So with money, it's like, I tell a lot of people, when they think about how much money they need to retire, they always think of like 10 million or 20 million. They have this big lump sum.
Sure.
But I'm like, honestly, like, just add up your monthly expenses and then figure out a way to make that without working every month. So, and especially if you like keep those low. So anyways, me and my wife, we were working on that for years, and we finally hit our, I guess, I call it like a retirement number, where you don't have to work anymore. Like, you're good every month, even though we're not living large, we're not rich, we're not, cruising or yachts or anything. At least we have enough to break even. So we wanted to celebrate that. And, we wanted to pretty much live in Asia. It was kind of crazy. So this is pre-pandemic. This is 2019. So we get on a flight, and we have two small kids. One's like 10 months old and one's 2. And we literally fly to Japan. And I don't know, as kind of like the man, I guess, of that, I don't know, father of the house, I was completely overwhelmed. We're going into a country that I've never been, with my 2 babies and a wife, without knowing where we're going to stay or what we're going to do. And I remember we landed in Tokyo airport right when all the restaurants were about to close. So we hurried and like ordered food, but it was all in Japanese. I couldn't understand anything. And I remember that they gave us a plate, and I ended up like taking a bite and thinking that it was going to be like warm, and it was just like ice cold noodles. And I just remember I just bawled my eyes out. I was like, we are way over our heads here.
Yeah.
And thankfully, like, you know, in our marriage, it's like when my wife's, you know, feeling down, like hopefully I can get her up. And in that moment, I was just crushed. I was like regretting everything. But anyways, so we got through that, and the next 3 months, like, were like, you know, some of the best 3 months of our whole lives. We were going to be there longer, but then the pandemic brought us back, which is a whole nother story. We almost didn't make it because airports were closing all over the place. But I don't know. For me, it was just kind of like, you know, a leap of faith, and it turned out unbelievably amazing, just as far as our relationship with our kids, and then everything. So I mean, I don't know if that really counts as a lemon, but anyways,
well, I think it does, absolutely, because the truth of it is like you are taking a leap of faith into the darkness, and during those times it can be dark. It can be very dark. It's not like always going to be lit up before you. You might have to like sit in the darkness for a little while before the light actually appears. So being in a place that is completely unfamiliar to you, and on top of it to have ice cold noodles, that's the worst, you know? So yeah, no, I know what you mean.
It's funny what finally gets you to...
Yeah. What actually breaks is the noodles.
Yes,
you know what
exactly.
I mean? Yeah, it was just hilarious because he's wearing a noodle shirt right now.
That's right.
Star noodle shirt.
But anyways, I just had to set the low bar so that John can just
like
stun us with this.
With his lemon
Well,
story.
yeah, I'll be quick. There's plenty of details I can give, but 2007, I was in real estate, but I was really kind of a hack. I was pretending. Honestly, I made money renting my house out to bachelors and donating plasma, you know. I had recently been divorced, and things weren't going well, and I got really far behind on my mortgage. And then the market crashed, which of course made things get way, way worse. Anyways, I'm renting my house out to a bunch of guys to pay my bills, and we found out that we're going to lose my house to foreclosure.
Wow.
And it got to where we had 3 days left, and I'm a serial procrastinator, and so I waited until the 3 days to kind of tell my roommates, by the way, house is going up for auction on Monday, you know? And we had just finished watching the movie Hot Rod, and we're sitting on the porch, and they're like, so do I got to move my stuff out? Like, what do we do? And we were talking about how in movies like Hot Rod and the Goonies, literally our conversation was about Hot Rod and the Goonies, how in movies, when someone has a problem, they do something crazy to solve that problem.
Yeah.
And I had an old Ford station wagon, a really crappy car, and I was like, you know, I mean, this is America. I bet and this was back before GoFundMe's and things were really big. I wrote a blog post that kind of said, hey, I screwed up and I'm losing my house to foreclosure and I suck. But by the way, if you lend me $20, I'll light my car on fire and put it on the internet.
Okay.
I needed $20,000.
Okay.
In 3 days. So it's funny because it's maybe a little precursor for the treasure hunts and things. In 3 days, we raised $20,000 just getting on the radio and using Twitter and all this kind of stuff.
No way, dude.
And what happened to me then is, you know, I'd been up for like 3 days straight, just messaging people and all this kind of stuff, trying to get people to loan me money. And really, it was all pretty micro donations. I think the biggest one was like $1,800 from my grandmother.
Yeah.
But then the next one for that was like $300. I mean, there was tons of people.
Yeah.
And I go to the auction with this check. You know, it's literally on the courthouse steps, just like they show you in the shows. And I handed the attorney. He's like, "Oh yeah, that reinstates your mortgage. Okay, well you can keep your house. You know, great." And then when I look around, there's all these guys in like shorts and flip flops, and then they're bidding on houses. And I like this moment. I'm like, these are my people.
Yeah,
this is what I need to do. And it actually, that experience led me to get into house flipping, where I get to a point that I can do okay enough that I can bury $10,000 in the mountain for people to go find, because I think it's cool. Like that experience led me to be able to do what I do for a living and to kind of get me there. So,
dude, isn't it so crazy to me to think that like sometimes like the hardest things that we have to face in life ends up being the exact thing that we needed to have happen to propel us into where we're supposed to be to begin with, right? I think like in my own life, and truth be told, I don't even remember what I was struggling with, but there was a hard week that I had that led me to like face myself and say, what is it that I would regret the most if I got old and I look back on my life. And that's when I'm like, oh my gosh, well, if I never give acting a shot, I'd regret that. And then I'm like, why haven't I done that? I'm afraid I'm going to fail. Like, I've been told this my whole life, like, oh, you can't do it. You know, like, there are very, very few people can actually succeed.
Right.
All those narratives, right? And that I believed. But then when I went and did it, it actually worked out. I mean, of course, it's been hard and challenging, but it's also been a tremendous amount of fun. But I love what you were saying about this treasure hunt was just fun. It wasn't work. It was just fun. And it brought a lot of joy to people's lives, you know? And just even kind of seeing that from an overall perspective, I can tell you guys find joy in bringing other people joy, you know, and seeing the light on people's faces, like, and the memories that people have had, and like the DMs that people have been sharing with you, saying like, you have no idea like what this has done for our family, and, you know, keep going. Like, of course, that's like the biggest motivation to be like, yes, we're doing this again. We have to do this again, you know? So what's next? What's the next step for you guys?
Well, just going along with that, there's a lot of ironies in the New Testament. You know, lose yourself to find yourself.
Yes.
But I think like one of the biggest ironies that, is literally like, to find your own happiness, you need to focus on the happiness of others, and that's a really profound. You're completely right. I mean, anyways, I just wanted to mention that because that's so true. Like, if you only focus on your own, what you want, you know, you're just in a hamster wheel trying to find happiness. But if you can focus on the happiness of those around you and, you know, the community, it's so rewarding. I mean, and ironically, that's how you do it. So, but as far as what's next, we had a lot of families reach out to us and say, hey, we would love to do one of these, but for kids.
Ooh, I like that.
And so I've been working day and night trying to get it ready before school starts in 5 weeks or in late August. And so we're hoping to roll that out first week of August. We're going to do like one just for 16 and under, with the help of their parents. And then I think we've got another bigger one for everyone, kind of like statewide. We're hoping to do September. It'll be different. We're kind of want to do like with the poem and the one treasure once a year. That's going to be like our summer thing.
That's like your summer thing.
Yes,
right.
But then we're going to do kind of like other ones, you know, between.
Yeah,
so.
more scavenger hunt, Amazing Race kind of projects where people can.
Yeah.
Because we one thing that, I mean, thank goodness David brought me in on this, because like the ciphers and the codes and stuff, I still have a hard time.
Sure.
But man, I cannot believe how many people love that stuff.
Yeah.
And so we kind of wanted to go maybe more that direction than the hiking. I mean, the hiking is a big part, and we got a lot of people who are like, hey, we just love getting out. I love hiking. This is great. You know, for me, hiking for treasure is kind of like playing soccer. You can't get me to run at all, but if I can chase a ball, I'll run all day long, right?
Yeah.
And so that happened a lot for a lot of people. But also the codes and the ciphers and the you know, figuring all the puzzles out is a huge thing for people. And so we're thinking maybe the next one is going to be a bigger version with more of the puzzle type things.
Yes.
And I think we're going to, you know, it will be a little more mobile. So we're going to kind of maybe put it more towards adults, and that's why the kid one will be good to kind of have kids do. And again, just like David said, I mean, we're just listening to what people are telling us, and how can we do that and make it as awesome as possible.
As awesome as possible. And what's great is Utah is like the perfect place for stuff like this, because I was privileged enough to work on a project that allowed me to travel through Utah, like even southern Utah, but not just St. George area. I'm talking about like there's a place called Tickaboo. Have you ever even been to Tickaboo? Never even heard of it till I went, and I'm like, what? Why doesn't everyone know about Tickaboo? This place is insanely amazing. And Leprechaun Canyon. Have you guys been to Leprechaun Canyon?
Yeah,
that's where we shot. That's where we shot our film. And I'm like, this place is ridiculous, and it's empty. Like, nobody knows about this place. And so just like looking at all the BLM land in Utah, I'm like, dude, this place is so gorgeous and so beautiful and so untapped.
It's a treasure hunter's paradise.
It's a treasure hunter's paradise.
Because you're right. Out of all the states, Utah, I mean, I don't know how much percentage-wise, but like 50% of it is BLM land.
Yeah.
And you're right. Like, we have everything from like the high Uinta alpine pine trees all the way to Red Rock and desert and everything in between. And So, because you're completely right, and that's another gratifying thing about this is like a lot of people messaged us and said, "Man, I haven't gone on a hike for 20 years, and I've forgotten how amazing this is." So it kind of rekindled their love of and or it's like I only hike like one trail once a year, but this forced me to like look at all these other places, and there are so many amazing places just within half an hour of my house that I'm so excited to take family and explore with my grandkids or kids or nieces, nephews, or whatever. And so you're completely right. Like
that's awesome.
We're spoiled to live here.
We really are. And there's actually a guy I need to introduce you guys to as you're talking. He's like a real life archaeologist, treasure hunter, Indiana Jones type of guy. And his life has just been spent on like finding like not just like actual treasure, but like technology. He's found like some really interesting technologies in Utah that
like
are
ancient technology. That's awesome.
And I'm like, what? And he's like showing me stuff, and like I'm actually meeting with him tonight. But he is just like he's a really cool guy, and he's a very spiritual guy. I'm a spiritual person, and so we love talking and like getting together, and like this is like our pastime. But he actually has access to like helicopters, and he flies around to places like no one can actually even get to, right? And he's like, Sharon, you will not believe the stuff I found in Utah. Like it is mind-blowing what is actually in right outside, like hidden caves and things that you would not be able to like even know about, right?
Oh yeah.
It's very fascinating. It's very interesting. So, and I think that actually piques a lot of people's interest, right? So kind of back to that coding situation, like I think the interesting part of National Treasure and like those movies like that are like those codes, like, oh, what does this mean? Oh my gosh, is there a map on the back of the Declaration of Independence? I don't know, but I kind of want to find out, And so having like those type of situations and things, and I know we were talking a little bit about like you guys are going to create more QR codes and more things like that. So it's kind of cool because now with technology, you can actually implement some of those things to make your treasure hunt. You don't have to have like actual physical artifacts. You can have a lot of those things kind of pop up on your own phone, right?
Yes. Yeah, with technology, it is just unbelievable how many different directions you could go with it and how cool you can make it. And honestly, kind of we were talking about international, just how small the world is, because even with this little treasure hunt in Utah, we had people flying from all over the country. We had Hawaii, Georgia, Florida, Texas. I mean, one person from Germany almost came. So it's just, there's just endless possibilities. And as long as it can stay positive and people can stay safe, that's kind of our biggest priorities.
And that's a big thing, right? Like, because it's not like you're watching to make sure that they're not, because when you're going on hiking and going on mountains and stuff like that, it can always get a little sketchy. I mean, some of the most expert hikers could even get hurt, right?
And we made clear, it's like, hey, if you feel like you're in danger, it's probably not there. Like, we're not going to have to scale cliffs or do anything crazy dangerous to get to this treasure, But again, like, you organize something and you just don't know what people are going to do.
Right.
And so...
And even the accidental stuff. I mean, I'm active and I hike, but I had no idea how many rattlesnakes there are in Utah mountains. No clue.
Especially this year.
Until we did this treasure hunt. And I don't think an hour went by. An hour. When we were up in the peak where someone wasn't sending me a picture or posting a picture on social media of coming across a rattlesnake. Like, it was a constant nonstop thing. I'm amazed nobody got bit. Yeah. I mean, honestly, and it's just like, well, how do you even compete with? I mean, that's the real world, that's the thing. But it's just, there's just things like that I don't think we could ever really prepare for.
You can't prepare for it, right? And then, I mean, weather also is an unpredictable thing.
Just the
in
heat
Utah. The heat.
Yeah, we had a couple storms roll in on people where they were running out of their thunderstorms.
But I mean, there's a balance. Like, we're not going to make it too dangerous, but at the same time, it's like, critics have said, and there haven't been many, and that's why. But you always remember what the critics say, and they are like, yeah, you shouldn't do a treasure hunt because people are going to get hurt. Well, it's like you could get hurt doing anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, in order to live a good life, I feel like you have to risk.
Yes.
I mean, and so it's like even going to the grocery store, like driving there and then slipping or whatever. It's like there's risk in everything we do. So, and again, like the community was amazing, and they for the most part, everyone was smart, and people get it.
People get it,
But just
you're doing it at your own risk, right?
Exactly.
And it makes sense. I mean, like those critics, it's like, well, you shouldn't eat because you may get food poisoning.
Exactly.
Or choke.
I mean, there's a strong possibility.
You can't live your life just based on this could happen.
There's a strong possibility that you could chew incorrectly and bite your tongue. So it's a tough. I know.
It's a balance.
It's a balance.
Yes.
So, guys, let me ask you this. What brings you two both joy right now? I know we talked a lot about, like, helping other people feel joy brings you a lot of joy, but what's brought you a lot of joy in your own lives?
For me, and the treasure hunt goes right along with it, and I do a lot of seminars and speaking and stuff, and people are always talking about their why, and my family's a big why for me, but pre-family, post, everything, like, it all comes down to, I just want to make people laugh, honestly. Like, and I do a little bit of house flipping where I try to make them laugh, and with the treasure hunt I try to make them laugh, and anything I can do to just get a laugh out of people, that's what brings me the most joy. And that's why this fits so perfectly, because even when we're talking about clues and hunts, it just gives me an opportunity to do that more and more and more,
Totally. And along that, I remember when KSL sent a reporter out to kind of do a story, I was just kind of telling him, like, every night on the news, there could be 10,000 amazing things happen, but they're focused on the one bad thing, And I think that if people are in their homes, especially months at a time, without reminding themselves, like, through interactions with other people, that there are actually a lot of good people out there doing good things, it almost just, like, it's just, overwhelming with all this kind of negative. And so even if we could just distract the whole community for 3 weeks with a treasure hunt on something that's not just negative and scary and dark, it was worth it for us. I guess, for me, it's super cliche. I have 3 kids now, and my oldest daughter, who's 4 years old, just barely started a little outdoor soccer league. Awesome. And I've literally waited my entire life, because I grew up in a soccer family, growing up playing soccer. I still play soccer twice a week with my friends indoor. And I've waited my whole life to have a kid that's playing soccer. And so it was just so special to be able to watch her run back and forth, even though she doesn't really understand the concept of, like, hey, we need to stop the ball from going into this goal, and we're trying to get it into that goal. Like, she hasn't really figured that out yet, but even just her running around on the field just was
Isn't it amazing?
Special.
Like, now you're seeing life through her eyes, right? You're not just your own eyes. Like, I remember I do the same thing. Like, I didn't grow up playing soccer, but I love tennis and I love snowboarding, and I used to be a snowboarding instructor, and so, like, teaching my friends how to, like, snowboard, and, like, just the joy they get when they can complete a turn. They're like, oh my gosh, and I'm like, that was amazing, dude! Like, you did it. And so I love that idea, and, like, being able to, like, share that with other people is incredible. Greatest fears now. Let's talk about your greatest fears. What would they be?
I think one of mine, if I'm really honest with myself, I mean, besides, like, safety and health of family, is mediocrity.
That's a good one.
My whole life, I've just have this, like, anxiety that I'm going to live just like a mediocre life. Yeah. And and then I'm trying to figure out, like, how do I not do that? And for me, it was quitting my job. I feel like, at least for me, having a 9-to-5 kind of, like, resigned me to mediocrity, essentially. Yeah. And it's safe, and it's scarier than anything not to have everything figured out when you kind of take that leap of faith to do something on your own. But I knew, for me at least, that was, like, the first thing I had to do was kind of take that leap. And
you were Indiana Jones looking over that cliff and being like, I'm gonna take a step in and I may fall, and then but you didn't fall, you kept going just like Indiana Jones, and then turned back and you saw that there was a bridge there the whole time, right?
Totally. And
so, love that.
Yeah, and I'm not where I want to be. Always have goals, and you're always working. But so I don't know. So
I love that mediocrity. Man, that's a great fear.
That was a really good answer.
Yeah, dude, I expect you to one up that one.
Yeah,
so
I don't even know if I can, because the only thing I think that scares me is missing out. Fear of missing out.
FOMO,
no, as I get a little older and I get a little more successful, and I get my 15 seconds of fame and things. Yeah. The thing that the only thing really that really keeps me up at night is taking for granted the things. I've got 5 kids, and all the things that you guys talked about. I mean, I go to work and I do great. Again, I do well enough for us to bury money in the mountain. But then I come home and I have 2 hours before my kids go to bed, because I've been at work all day, and on Saturdays, if I go work, then that's time away from them, and all that time is so precious. And it's easy. We live in the age of distraction, where it is so and I am so easily distracted that it's so easy for me to just do the next thing, and then and my beautiful and amazing wife who's supported me and take care of me, I'm not paying attention to her, and that's what I'm really afraid of, is that I'll miss out on all the time that I could be spending with the people that I love the most, and that kind of stuff.
That's a profound answer, man. I mean, I remember I was having a conversation with a guy by the name of Brian Manser. He's a really, really cool guy. He used to be a former Disney executive, marketed tons and tons of big movies like Pirates of the Caribbean, like all these like huge movies that you would see in the theater. He was like the guy behind like pushing them out and making the trailers and making them go big, and he was traveling the world. He said like he had like a fancy car traveling the world, and he's like, and dude, I was so miserable. I'm like, what? Like, what do you mean? He's like, I was living my dream job and I was so miserable. I was hardly ever at home. And like every day I would like see like my daughters were growing up without me actually being there. And so he finally got to a point where he's like, I just couldn't take it anymore. I couldn't take it anymore. And so he left. And he actually went through like a rough divorce and stuff. And then he was telling me during that time he wanted to reconnect with himself in a sense, and like what really brought him joy. And he knew that like connecting with people brought him joy. So he decided when he didn't have his daughters with him, he was going to be a Lyft driver. So here's a Disney exec, a former Disney exec saying, you know what, forget all of that. He's like, I've got plenty of money. I want to go drive for a Lyft just so I can connect with people. And he said like that was some of the best times of his life.
Wow.
Was being a Lyft driver, connecting with people, right? Isn't that amazing? Like when you think about that, because then you realize, oh, money wasn't the thing. It wasn't the thing. There's this quote by, I think, Jim Carrey, and he says, like, I wish everyone in the world could get all of the dreams come true and have everything they've ever wanted, only to realize, like, that wasn't really what they
mattered.
Wanted or what they mattered, you know?
And, it's not a secret either. I'm a big fan of biographies, and you read about extremely successful people. I mean, the Rockefellers and Steve Jobs and all these people that changed the world with their success. Yeah. They die alone and miserable. Their kids hate them. They're divorced many times. Their wives don't like them. Their families don't care. I mean, success can be a very scary thing. And I think finding what truly is important is maybe what we're all searching for. But that's really easy to say when you don't. Yeah. When you have everything, it's easy to say.
And maybe it's like we have to redefine what success means to us.
Totally.
Yeah. You know what I mean? And like if success means like we're not mediocre, or if success means we're not missing out on family time and stuff, then we've lived a very rich life, right? I've shared this story before on this podcast, but I have some cousins in India, and when I asked them when I was with them, like, where would you guys be if you could be anywhere in the world? Like, if you live anywhere in the world. And without even a second thought, my cousin was like, oh, Pondicherry, which is the hometown that he was living in. I'm like, I'm so sorry. Let me rephrase this question. Anywhere in the world. And they're like, no, Pondicherry. And I said, well, why? Why would you just stay here? And they said, I'm never alone here. Like, we're always with our families. We're always celebrating. We're having a good time. And it was so true. Like, when I was there the last time, they're like, Charan, wonderful news, Charan. We have a new restaurant and we need you to come and check it out. I'm like, all right, sounds amazing. What is it? It's called Pizza Hut. And I'm like, oh, okay. I think no, Charan, there are these pizzas and you can put I'm like, no, I get it. But it was amazing to like see how excited they got about like the simplest of things, right? And I think kind of going back to your point of like seeing your girl trying to figure out soccer, seeing life through their eyes and seeing through the simplicity of it all, that's what brings the joy, right? And so I hope that you guys continue to maintain that spirit in your treasure hunt, which is, hey, this whole thing is about bringing families together and bringing people together and having joy together. So I love it, guys. I think it's amazing. Final question: what would you tell your younger versions of yourselves? If you could go back in time, you found a treasure box, and in that treasure box there was a time machine that allowed you to go back in time, what would you tell young Dave and young John?
I have a feeling Dave's going to one-up me here, so I'll just go first.
Okay,
but
go ahead.
I would definitely tell myself to get comfortable with losing money really quick. Okay. And if anything, I have learned, I actually saw a quote yesterday about how billionaires have lost billions of dollars and millionaires have lost hundreds and thousands of dollars. and poor people are just too afraid to lose any money. And I have lost a lot of money in my career. And, I think back to my biggest loss, which was massive, hundreds of thousands of dollars in my career. And I can make that money back. But if I lose 200 hours with my kids, I never, ever get it back. There's no way to get that back. And so, you get so worried about losing money that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And the sooner I could have figured that out, I think the better off my life would have been. So I would tell myself to get over it quick.
It's interesting you say that, because it's like, hey, listen, let me give you some Monopoly money. You lose that Monopoly money. You're like, well, I don't care. It's just Monopoly money, right? But when you lose real money, you're like, oh my gosh, I lost money. But the thing is money only has value because we've given it value, right?
It is Monopoly money.
It is Monopoly money. It's the same thing.
It's great.
Just,
I love that.
We're just giving ourselves. We're putting value on it, and now we need it, right?
Yeah.
I love that. What about yourself?
Well, obviously, I'd go back 2011 and tell myself to buy Bitcoin. Definitely.
Seriously, right?
I knew he was going to say that.
Oh, and you would have one up him. That was good, because that's got value. It's got worth.
Seriously, I would.
Yeah.
But
that's so funny.
Also, real estate has been a huge blessing in our lives. Just because, ultimately, like, the only currency that really matters is time, kind of like what John said. Mm-hmm. Time with your kids, or time doing whatever you want to do. And honestly, like, it's hard to give time or resources if you don't have that time or resources to give, Yeah. So it's almost like, in order to even get to that point, you have to kind of take care of yourself before you can, like, take care of others, Yeah. Man, I wish I would have bought property sooner too. I don't know. And between the ages of 21 and the time I got married at 27, my only goal was to have fun. And so, I ended up going to Utah State and never graduated. No regrets, met my wife up there, and the rest is history. But maybe I would say, have fun, but also, be productive.
Focused in your fun.
Yeah, learn some skills.
Learn some skills.
I don't know. I don't think we should give you a time machine. I think you'd be so boring if you told yourself that.
Yeah. The time machine has been taken away officially.
Yes.
It's funny because, do you guys know who the Winklevoss twins are?
Oh yeah.
So I know those guys because I was on a show called Silicon Valley, and they were on that same show as I was on, and we were on the same episode. And so I remember, like, I would always, like, hear them talk about Bitcoin. So I'm like, guys, what is Bitcoin? Like, what does that even mean? And they were describing it to me, and I'm like, I literally was like, not only are you taller than me and everything goes over my head anyway, literally, but figuratively, everything's going over my head. I have no idea.
What year was this?
This was, oh my gosh, when did we film? It was after 2011. It must have been 2014.
Okay, so it's still really early.
Pretty new, and they were, like, creating Gemini and all this type of stuff, Anyway, I did not listen, as it turns out. I'm like, I don't know what that means. And yeah, I'm like, oh, well, that's an interesting thing that I missed out on. But the truth of it is like, regarding time and regarding, like, giving things time to grow and nurture, it really is very important what we choose to spend time doing, right? Yesterday I had the opportunity, like, my career is such that I have some days I've got gigs, other days I don't have much going on. But what I've decided is, like, hey, on the times that I don't have things going on, I am going to be productive, but I'm going to go in nature. Like, I love nature. I just love, like, kind of being still and, like, just, like, clearing my mind. And so I was driving and I just started, like, noticing just the clouds. And I started noticing, like, how nobody else was around. And I was like, wow, have those clouds always been that amazing and that beautiful? And I was just kind of blown away by all of it. And I started realizing I really believe that Earth and all these things, they're meant to, like, help fill you with light and love. And the more we can kind of promote that light and love, like, the better off we will be. And, like, the more we can give time to those things, the better off we'll be, which is what you guys are doing. So I love the fact that you guys are doing treasure hunting, and I'm super excited to see where the next one goes. So, yeah.
We are too.
Yeah.
We'll see.
And seriously, guys, like, we would love to help market it for you. If you guys need some extra marketing help or anything like that is what we have a whole team of people, and that's all they do.
Yeah,
every single day.
It's funny because I actually have friends from high school that are professional marketers, really successful, and they reached out to me and they're like, "That is the most amazing idea I've ever seen." Yeah. And I'm like, that's so funny because, like, we didn't mean to make it a marketing thing. We just wanted to do this. Yeah. And maybe that's why it works so well, is because we didn't mean to.
Yeah, you're not trying to you're not trying to sell Ovaltine. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You're just trying to help someone get $10,000, but also let people have a good time.
Totally.
Which is great.
No, I thought it was funny though. But yeah, no, that's very generous, and we'll definitely look into that for sure.
That's awesome.
We're kind of just making up as we go. We're winging this, just like everything else in life. So
we love it. No, it's awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me on this podcast. Any last words before we wrap up?
Thank you for not asking for an early clue. That was cool of you, Sharon. Appreciate it.
Dude, of course, man.
For the next hunt.
For the next hunt. Yeah. No, fine. I'm going to keep that one to you guys. I want you guys to send the clues off when you're ready to send them out. Okay.
Appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yep. Thanks so much for listening to the Lemonade Stand podcast, and we hope you enjoyed this episode. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on whatever platform you use to be alerted when we release new episodes. We'd also love to hear your feedback in the reviews, and if you or someone you know has an awesome Lemonade Stand story, please reach out to us on social media and let us know. Thanks so much, and have a great day.